In the book of the Acts of the Apostles, we see that in the church, in the beginning, there were times of peace. It says it many times. The church grew in peace, and the Spirit of the Lord spread out. Times of peace. There were also times of persecution, beginning with the persecution of Stephen. Then Paul, the persecutor, who was converted, then he himself was persecuted. Times of peace, times of persecution. And there were also times of upheaval. And this is the topic of the first reading today. A time of upheaval. We have known that some of us, the apostles, wrote to the Christians who had come from paganism. We have known that some of us, to whom we have not given any charge, have come in order to perturb you, to disquiet you with discourse which have unsettled your souls. And what had happened? These Christians who had come from paganism had believed in Jesus Christ and received baptism. And they were happy. They had received the Holy Spirit. From paganism to Christianity, without any intermediate stage. On the contrary, those who call themselves the Judaizers maintained that this could not be done. If one were pagan, first he had to become Hebrew, a good Jew, and then to become Christian, in order to be in the line of the elect people of God. And these Christians did not understand this, but how can we be second-class Christians? Is it not possible to pass from paganism directly to Christianity? Isn't it that the resurrection of Christ has dissolved the old law and has carried it even to its greatest fullness? They were perturbed, and there were a lot of discussions among them. And those who wanted this were persons who, with pastoral arguments, theological arguments, even some moral arguments, asserted no, one had to make this step. And this put into discussion the freedom of the Holy Spirit, even the gratuity of the resurrection of Christ and of grace. They were methodical and also rigid. Of these, Jesus had said of their teachers, of the doctors of the law, woe to you who traverse heaven and seas in order to make one proselyte. And then, when you have found him, you make him worse than before. You make him a son of Gehenna. More or less, Jesus says this in chapter 23 of Matthew. These people who were ideological, more than dogmatic, they were ideological. They had reduced the law, the dogma, to an ideology. And this must be done, and this, a religion of prescriptions. And with this, they take away the freedom of the Spirit. And the people who follow them were rigid people, people who were not at ease. They did not know the joy of the gospel. For them, the perfection of the way to follow Christ was rigidity. One must do this, 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 this. These people, these doctors, manipulated the consciences of the faithful. And they made them become either rigid or they left. And for this, I repeat many times, I say that rigidity is not good spirit. Because it puts into question the gratuity of the redemption, the gratuity of the resurrection of Christ. And this is an old thing. In the history of the Church, this has been repeated. We can recall the Pelagians, these famous and rigid people. And also in our times, we have seen some apostolic organizations who seem to be very well organized, who were working very well, but everything rigid, everything equal one to the other. And then we learned about the corruption which was on the inside, even in the founder. Where there is rigidity, there is no Spirit of God, because the Spirit of God is freedom. And these people wanted to do things, taking away the freedom of the Spirit of God and the gratuity of the redemption. In order to be justified, you must do this, this, this. Justification is gratuitous. The death and resurrection of Christ are gratuitous. It is not paid for, it is not bought, it is a gift. And these men do not want to do this. The way is beautiful. Apostles came together in this council, and in the end, they wrote a letter which starts this way. It seemed well, in fact, to the Holy Spirit and to us, not to impose another obligation on you. And they affirmed the most basic and sensible moral obligations, not confusing Christianity with paganism, to abstain from meat offered to idols, etc. And in the end, these Christians who were perturbed reunited in the assembly, received the letter, and when they had read it, they rejoiced because of the encouragement that it inspired, from disquiet to joy. The spirit of rigidity always brings you disquiet. But did I do this well? Did I not do this well? Scruples. This one, the spirit of the freedom of the gospel brings you to joy. Because it is precisely this that Jesus has done with his resurrection. He has brought joy. The relationship with God, the relationship with Jesus is not a relationship of doing things. I do this and you give me this. The relationship such as this, I say, may the Lord forgive me, is commercial. No, it is gratuitous, in the same way as the relationship of Christ with his disciples is gratuitous. You are my friends. I do not call you servants, I call you friends.
Non voi avete scelto
You have
me,
not chosen me,
io ho scelto
but
voi.
I have chosen you.
Questa è la gratuità.
This is gratuity.
Chiediamo al Signore che ci
Let us
aiuti
ask the Lord that He may help us to discern
i frutti della
the
gratuità
fruits of the
evangelica,
gratuity of the gospel
dei frutti della
from the
rigidità
fruits of rigidity
non evangelica,
which are not of the gospel,
e che ci liberi
and that He
da
may
ogni
free us from all
turbamento
disquiet
di coloro che
that puts
mettono
the faith,
la fede,
the
la
life
vita
of
della
faith
fede sotto le
under
prescrizioni
casuistic prescriptions, the prescriptions
che non hanno
which
senso.
do not make sense.
Mi riferisco a
I
queste
refer to
prescrizioni che non hanno
senseless
senso,
prescriptions,
non ai
not to the
comandamenti.
commandments.
Che ci liberi di
May
questo
He free
spirito
us from the spirit of rigidity
che ti toglie la
that
libertà.
removes you from freedom.